An Amtrak train, making the first ever run along a faster new route, hurtled off an overpass Monday near Tacoma and spilled some of its cars onto the highway below, killing at least 6 people, authorities said. The death toll was expected to rise. 78 passengers and 5 crew members were aboard when the train, moving at more than 80 miles per hour, derailed about 40 miles south of Seattle on a route that had raised safety concerns. An official briefed on the investigation told the Associated Press that preliminary signs indicate that Train 501 may have struck something before going off the track. The official was not authorized to discuss the investigation publicly and spoke on the condition of anonymity. In addition, the new high-tech Positive Train Control (PTC) system that each of the brand Amtrak Cascade engines are equipped with was not switched on. The PTC computer system, which prevents a train from exceeding a speed limit and can detect objects or collisions ahead, is fitted to all the new Charger locomotives on the Seattle to Portland line. However, according to CNN, at a conference call today, Amtrak president and co-CEO Richard Anderson said Positive Train Control was not activated on the tracks at the time. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office said 13 of the train's 14 cars derailed. One of them crashed onto freeway below, hitting 5 cars and 2 semi-trucks. Multiple motorists were injured, but none killed. Police have not given an official death count, but the Seattle Times says it's at least 6. 77 people have been hospitalized, with hospital officials saying at least 2 people are in critical condition and 11 are seriously injured. Train 501 was going south to Portland, Oregon when it derailed while crossing a bridge over Interstate 5 near DuPont, Washington around 7:40 a.m. Pacific Time, causing at least 1 car to fall onto the freeway below. The train was making the inaugural run on the new Cascade route as part of a $180.7 million project designed to speed up service by removing passenger trains from a route along Puget Sound that's bogged down by curves, single-track tunnels and freight traffic. The Amtrak schedule called for the train to leave Seattle around 6 a.m. and arrive in Portland about 3.5 hours later. The new route includes a bypass built on an existing inland rail line that runs along Interstate 5 from Tacoma to DuPont, near where Train 501 derailed. Track testing was completed in January and February in advance of Monday's launch, according to the Washington State Department of Transportation. The possibility that the wreck was caused by something on the tracks fed into concerns voiced by local officials about the risk of high-speed trains crossing busy streets. The mayor of a town near the derailment had warned about the danger of an accident at a public meeting only 2 weeks ago. Right before the bridge, there is a sizable curve in the track and the train. The train was going 81.1 miles per hour moments before the derailment, according to transitdocs.com, a website that maps Amtrak train locations and speeds using data from the railroad's train tracker app. The maximum speed along the stretch of track, known as Point Defiance Bypass, is 79 miles per hour, according to information about the project posted online by the Washington State Department of Transportation. The president of Amtrak revealed at an afternoon press conference that the new train was not equipped with Positive Train Control, a mechanism that automatically slows the train if it starts going too fast. This is despite the fact that the technology was supposed to be added to the trains as part of the revamp. Local officials were wary about the new line, voicing their concerns about the high-speed trains going through curves at top speed at a meeting earlier this month. The mayor of Lakewood, Washington, a city along the new route, predicted a deadly crash, but one involving a fast-moving train hitting a car or pedestrian at a grade crossing. At a recent public meeting, he called on state planners to build overpass-like rail structures instead of having trains cross busy streets. "Come back when there is that accident and try to justify not putting in those safety enhancements," Anderson said, according to Seattle television station KOMO. "Or you can go back now and advocate for the money to do it, because this project was never needed and endangers our citizens." The NTSB will be investigating the cause of the crash, but most won't be on the scene for several hours because they're flying commercial. The 20-person GO Team's flight is scheduled for 6:55 p.m. and it's a 5-hour flight. When they finally get to the scene, the investigators will obtain the black box which will show how fast the train was going when it derailed and whether the engineer braked when they needed to. They will also look at the condition of the tracks and question the train crew. Mary Schiavo, a transportation analyst for CNN, hinted that the curve in the road might be to blame for the derailment. This train was about to enter or was entering a curve, and while they had to modify the tracks and test the tracks, and all of this work was done at the beginning of December, local officials in Washington were highly critical of sending a train at this speed through his area. They specifically warned that it needed to slow down at the curves in the track. "I always like to say, Whether it's a train crash or a plane crash, the laws of physics are the only laws you can't break. And while they tested it, testing as opposed to running a full-sized, fully loaded train over the track changes the physics. It changes the dynamics of the forces that you have in that curve. It's like racing a motorcycle. As you approach that curve, the centrifugal forces on the train change dramatically, and I bet the NTSB is gonna pay a lot of attention to the topography and whether the train was entering a curve, Schiavo said. Audio has been released of the engineer talking to emergency dispatchers immediately after the crash. Amtrak 501 emergency, 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 we are on the ground. The engineer is heard saying. Need EMS ASAP. It looks like they are already starting to show up, the engineer continues. Hey guys, what happened? A dispatcher asks. We were coming around the corner to take the bridge over 1-5 there right north of Nisqually and we went on the ground, the engineer responds. Okay, is everybody okay? The dispatcher asks. I'm still figuring that out, the engineer responds. We've got cars everywhere and down onto the highway. Passenger Chris Carnes was on his way to do some Christmas shipping with his boyfriend when the derailment happened. He told Cairo that he was on the third for fourth car, and said the emergency doors were not functioning so they had to kick out the train windows to escape. Photos from the scene show 3 to 4 cars rolled off the track and into the woods on the side of the road. We had just passed the city of DuPont and it seemed like we were going around a curve, Carnes said. All of a sudden, we felt this rocking and creaking noise, and it felt like we were heading down a hill. The next thing we know, we're being slammed into the front of our seats, windows are breaking, we stop, and there's water gushing out of the train. People were screaming. The tracks for this line were supposed to be upgraded to be able to handle higher speeds, he continued. I'm not sure what happened at this juncture. Maria Hetland was driving to work on the northbound lanes when traffic slowed and she noticed the crash. As we were coming up the hill I rolled my window down and saw the train, she told the Seattle Times. It was awful. Hetland said she could see people walking around the roadway near the derailment, and people sitting on the side of the freeway wrapped in blankets. Daniel Conselman, 24, was driving parallel to the train on his way to work as an accountant in Olympia. He was about 30 seconds ahead of the train on the freeway when he saw it derail. Conselman, who was driving with a friend, said he pulled off the freeway and then ran down along the tracks and over the bridge to get to the scene. They saw 3 cars and a semi-truck on the freeway that had been damaged by the derailment. There were train cars with their roofs ripped off, or that were tipped upside down, on both sides of the track or turned sideways on the bridge. They climbed into train cars and found people hurt, some pinned underneath the train, others who appeared to be dead, he said. If they were mobile and seemed stable, he helped them climb out. If they appeared seriously hurt, he tried to comfort them by talking to them. I just wanted to help people because I would want people to help me, he said. I'm an Eagle Scout. I have a lot of first aid training and emergency response training. They stayed for nearly 2 hours before hitting the road again. I prepared for the worst and hoped for the best. I saw a little bit of both, he said. Alex Rosier, a King TV reporter, told NBC News that he got off the train about 10 minutes before the derailment, after taking footage early on in the inaugural trip. He said there were many people on the train for its first trip, including rail enthusiasts. Passengers were given commemorative lanyards for the journey. The new service is supposed to make the journey between Portland and Seattle in 3 hours and 20 minutes, about 10 minutes faster than previous services. Part of the reason why the new route is faster is because it diverges from the main line on a 14-mile bypass between DuPont and Tacoma. The new track is a straighter line so the train can go faster, while the old track was windy and made the journey slower. The bypass already existed but had the tracks needed to be updated for high-speed trains, which heat up the metal on the tracks more significantly. Monday's inaugural trip was the culmination of the $181 million project, that also included construction of a new train station at Tacoma. Amtrak service south of Seattle on the line is temporarily suspended. Service is continuing to the north and east of the crash. The derailment has also caused traffic chaos on Interstate 5, with all southbound lanes shut down and just 2 lanes getting by northbound. The state police said that the southbound lanes will at least be closed down for the rest of the day. They are asking that people stay off I-5 if they don't need to use it. The freeway is a heavily trafficked road, with even more Washingtonians expected to be on the road this week to do Christmas shopping in sales tax-free Oregon. Family of victims are being asked to report to the DuPont City Hall to be reunited with their loved ones. They are being told not to come to the scene. President Trump used the deadly derailment to call for more infrastructure spending in a tweet sent about 3 hours after the accident. He said the wreck, on a newly completed bypass, shows more than ever why our soon-to-be submitted infrastructure plan must be approved quickly. 10 minutes later, he expressed his sympathies for those who were killed.